Everybody, welcome to the MD Power Hour, starring me, Ron Harrison, and Giles Tiger Thomas. This week, we're going to go over the show in Cluj, Romania. It's the return of the Masters Olympia after many years away. Welcome, Giles. How are you, sir?
Ron, I'm very, very good. Do you know I actually went to the last Masters Olympia in Miami, Florida, back in 2012?
No, so it was 11 years ago.
You know
Yeah.
why?
Why?
I was trying to work with Ronnie Coleman. I was badgering him for a job because really wanted to work with him. And then Brendan, his business partner, said, "Okay, well, let's do a Zoom call." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "I'm more of a face-to-face guy." I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll fly out to you." And he went, "What?" I said, "I want to fly out to you and Ronnie because I want a meeting with you. I want to speak to you face to face so you can see what I'm about and you know that I'm serious." And he was like, "Okay, okay, okay. Well, you just let us know." And I booked the flight the next day, went out there, and I coincided it with the Masters Olympia. So it was fantastic. It was really, really good. And I think the two things that I remember most about that was Darren, Charles, and Francis Benfato's guest posings.
They guest posing. Why wasn't he
Yeah.
competing?
Oh, I don't know, but their routines were just. I mean, Francis Benfato. It was like I can only describe it. It was like hypnotic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the way he posed. I mean, somebody an Instagram account posted his 1990 Olympia routine, the Jean-Michel Jarre music,
Yeah.
and I watched it all the way through. And I remember because obviously I used to have that video many years ago when I was a teenager. I was like 14, 15.
Yeah.
And I just remembered and seen in real time, in front of you. It was absolutely incredible. It was such a good thing. And like I said, why didn't he compete? I don't know why.
Yeah. So who won that year that you went?
Dexter.
Was it who?
Dexter.
Dexter. Oh, that's right. Dexter Jackson won the Masters Olympia. We
And,
forget that. I
and
forgot
it
that.
and it was the year because that was the year I thought he was on the slide
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
Well, everybody did.
he got fifth at the Arnold Classic, and it wasn't. In all fairness, it wasn't like the best lineup. And I thought,
Mm,
okay, finally he's starting to slide now. He's at that age, mid-40s or whatever he would have been at the time. He's
yeah.
going to start to slide now. And then he came back to the Masters Olympia, looked absolutely sensational, probably the best I've ever seen him. And then he won the Arnold Classic in 2013. So and then obviously he just for another 4, 5, 6 years just. So it was funny because I thought I kind of wrote him off, and then he kind of bounced back and just looked absolutely incredible. So what a legend.
So I think the Masters Olympia then, so that was the last year it took place for many years, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
right.
it started in 94, I
Yep.
believe, and it went on till then. And it was always just, what we now call open men. We didn't have to use that phrase back then. And it was typically mostly prior champions, guys who had been on the Olympia stage, guys who had done well at the Olympia. In Dexter's case, he had already actually won the Mr. Olympia, and he was competing in the Masters Olympia.
Later.
And it was, I remember I met what was her name? The promoter, Jarka.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, she tried her best, but it was a tough go with the finances and everything. This is a completely different situation. It's been taken over by Jake Wood. He's putting it in a huge, fancy venue. That you've been to this place in Cluj, right? This venue.
I haven't been to the venue, but I've been to Cluj.
Okay. So not only that, this obviously it's going to be first-rate production, but we have 10, is it 10 or 11 divisions now that are all going to be
No wheelchair.
no wheelchair. So 10 divisions all represented for the first time. A lot of opportunities here. And honestly, when I first saw the list come out, I was a little torn because one side of me said, I know everybody works hard. Trust me, we've competed. We know this is not easy for anybody, but if it's going to be the Olympia, that's a very elite title. Maybe a prerequisite should have been that you've competed on the Olympia stage at some point. Not to say you had to take top 5 or top 10, but maybe you should have had to be in the Olympia at one point in your career, because we have a lot of people here. I think I don't know, there might even be people here who've never been on a pro stage. I'm not sure some of these names, but a lot of them turn pro as masters. They've certainly never been in the Olympia. So, but then the other part of me says, what if that was you, Ron? What if you turned pro as a masters and you had this opportunity to submit an application to be on the Olympia stage, Masters Olympia? Would you say to yourself, well, no, you're never in the Olympia? Of course I would want it. So I feel that part of me really feels for these guys and girls who have never had an opportunity like this. And now your Instagram feed and must be full of a lot of these people. They're so psyched. They're just full of enthusiasm because
Yep.
This is something they've dreamed of their entire lives, and they're never going to be on the open Mr. Olympia, Ms. Olympia, Figure Olympia stage. They know that. They're, some of them, they're 40, 45, 55 years old, but this is a tremendous opportunity. So we're going to be covering most of the bigger names today, just because that's who we're familiar with. But much respect to all the men and women in these 10 divisions. They all work hard. So I want to start off with the open men, Masters, Mr. Olympia title, because you know this guy very, very well. You've known him for 20 plus years. He's a two-time 212 Olympia champion. He's sworn to never step foot three-time. What? Well, we're talking about Kamal Elgargni, so let's talk about him.
One time.
Oh, he only won it once?
2019.
Oh, okay. So he's an Arnold Classic 212 and an Olympia 212 champion. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm giving him credit for an extra Olympia win.
Nearly two.
But, so we have other guys here who are very, very good competitors, but especially when we get to Phil Clahar in a minute. But Kamal at 220 pounds is a very different bodybuilder, as you've said, than as a 212. What are his chances of walking away Sunday as the new Masters Mr. Olympia?
Very, very high. I think based upon, I'm going basically what we saw in Tampa last year. If we see if he brings what he brought in Tampa last year, then it's a slam dunk. He's won it. But thing is, though, okay, to go to the other side, like Dexter's last year. I mean, apparently I heard he had COVID and he wasn't very well, but he looked dramatically worse on that final year, whereas he looked really good the year before and the year before that and the year before that. So I'm just hoping the decline hasn't happened yet, because if it hasn't, and I think he's going to go all out to win this one as well. I think he's really, really, really psyched to win this one. I think we will see, because obviously we got he didn't look very good at the Arnold Classic, did he?
That wasn't, no, not his best. I thought
no, it wasn't. So I don't know what is he going to be able to bounce back and produce what he produced at Tampa last year when he was like 220 and arguably could have beat Akeem Williams. He looked very good in Texas as well when he got to fifth, wasn't it? Fifth place.
Yeah, but you've talked to him. What did he ever tell you what happened at the Arnold? Because I've seen him a few times. You've seen him many more times, and that's not the Kamal I was used to seeing. So do you know what happened at the Arnold?
I don't. I think I did speak to him on Global afterwards, but I can't remember. I don't know. I really don't know. But he looked good at the Olympia, and that was only last December. He looked very good. He was third there. Arguably could have been second. It was a close between him and Angel Calderon, obviously with Sean Clarida winning.
Yep.
But I do see him winning this, and I've got a funny feeling. This is what I think. This is what Mystic Tiger, my alter ego, has told me what is going to happen. He came to me in a vision one night.
Oh boy!
Drank too much red wine, and he said he's going to win 3 Masters Olympias and retire.
3? So he's 52 right now, correct?
Yeah.
So he'd have to be 53 and 54. Wow. Okay. I mean, well, that's a noble goal. Wow, 3 Masters Olympias.
I think he's going to switch to this one. I'm glad he's doing the Open as well, because he said to me in Global a few months ago, he said the only reason I don't want to do 212, he says, I just can't get down to 212 anymore. He said, why should I put my body through that? He said, I'm only doing Open from now on. So when I heard he was doing the Open at the Masters Olympia, I was really happy, because I want to see the best version of Kamal on stage. I don't want to see, because when he goes down to 212, he seems to lose that little bit of sweep on his legs, and he loses that fullness in his delts and his chest, and it makes him, it kind of shrinks the muscle, but makes the waist look a bit wider. So when he's fuller up here, the shoulder to waist is more pronounced. And so I think he looks much, much better. I mean, like I said, if he brings anything like 98% close to Tampa last year, I think he's won this hands down. I really do. I don't see anyone beating him for this. So, and I think, and then I think he'll just do, I think he'll probably still do the odd occasional Open show.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I hope we don't just see him pop up once a year, and they're probably going to keep this in Romania, would be my guess. I'd love to see him bring it to the U.S. selfishly, but I bet they're going to keep it in Romania.
And then he'll do what only Dexter has done and win Olympias in 2 different divisions.
Dexter, yeah, Masters and Open. Wow.
Yeah.
He's already 212.
212 Masters. I mean, really, if you look at Kamal's amateur career, like 10 world championships, 6 gold championships, the Mediterraneans, Europeans, all the other federations, like the worlds and universes and all that. I mean, really, he's probably one of the most, if not the most decorated amateur bodybuilder on the planet. And then, just because in 2014 he was ready to retire, and then obviously tried to get his pro card. 2018, his pro debut, he did the Arnold Classic, and he won that. And then he just kind of gave him a new lease of life, and then he decided to start competing again as a pro. Because obviously Jim Mannion gave him his pro card at the end of would have been the end of 2017, wouldn't it, when the split happened? And I just think I think he's going to go down as one of probably the all-time greatest, most winningest bodybuilders ever.
Wow. And we both I admire the hell out of the guy. He's a family man, he's a businessman. And to be doing it, to be improving or still on the top of your game at 52 years old, for a guy that's been competing as long as he has, it's commendable. It's remarkable. But yeah, let's go to Phil Clahar, the Jamaican tank.
Hang on. Do you know what Kamal's secret is?
No.
Green tea.
Green tea. I thought you were going to say moisturizer. No,
no, because when I went to his house and he made me lunch and he made me all these special treats, which are obviously horrendous for me being a diabetic. He had this little like decorative sort of teapot thing, and he makes it with proper green tea leaves. And he said, "I drink this all day long."
No, okay, well, now you're going to have a lot of people out there trying that.
Probably
not the same as the stuff in the can that just says green tea that you buy out of the local shop. So yeah, Phil Clahar, the Jamaican tank, 49 years old, a little bit younger, but he just won. Was it Orlando where he beat Hassan? So many shows.
You know what? Oh my god, it was only like 3 months ago. I can't even remember.
It wasn't even 3 months ago. It was like 6 weeks ago, I think.
Oh my god, that's how many shows there's been, Ron.
There's a show or two every damn weekend, but yeah, he just beat.
And it's funny, 2 weeks ago, like I saw a front lat spread of Andrea Presti, and I was like, oh, I remember him.
Yeah.
It was like
Haven't
3
seen that
shows on stage.
Yeah, but like I said, so Phil is on the top of his game. He's winning open shows. He beat Hassan, who looked very good at that show. He's still, his physique is not, it's still in its prime. It's not losing any fullness. He doesn't have any muscle tears. He's not losing his legs or his back like some guys do as they get older. Condition, we saw him pull out that very similar condition to, we always talk about that Texas Pro from a couple of years ago. He's so much bigger. I know he's actually not as heavy as we think he is because he's got such small joints, but he's still a 250-pound guy. You put him next to Kamal, it's overwhelming how much taller and wider and bigger he is. Could that be a deciding factor? Could he beat Kamal based on that?
He could. He could, but he has to bring his best. And I think if Kamal doesn't bring his best, then I think Phil will take him. But also another thing you need to consider is, has Phil ever competed and traveled?
Not in Europe. I've never seen him compete outside the USA.
See, this is what you've got to look at, the advantages and the disadvantages of the competitors and the experience they have. Kamal has experience with traveling and competing a lot.
Yeah.
So, he technically might be better prepared, but I don't know when Phil flew over to Romania. I assume he's there now, but it'll be interesting because I do see him probably as one of the two main threats for Kamal's title here. But he did. Yeah, of course he won Orlando, and and he's obviously this is a show that's kind of perfect for him. So imagine if he won that. I mean, if he wins this, Andy's in the actual Olympia as well. I mean, this is probably going to be this is going to be a very, very special year for Phil.
He's already qualified for the Olympia, and Kamal could always go back and do the 212 Olympia, but we should let people know this is a qualifier for the Olympia. So anyone who wins their Masters Olympia division this weekend in Romania, they go to the big dance. They go to the Olympia.
I wonder what Kamal would do if he won. Then would he go to the Olympia as an open?
Well, didn't he swear up and down he's never going to do a 212 show again?
I reckon. Yeah. So what do you reckon he'll do if he wins this and he qualifies for the Open Mr. Olympia? Do you think he'll go and do it, or do you think he'll skip it, or do 212?
I mean, realistically, where is he going to fall in the Olympia?
He'd have to do 212, wouldn't he?
He doesn't have to. He could, if he does the Mr. Olympia, I think he'd have a very, very tough time making the top 10. This year's Olympia is going to be insane.
I reckon if he wins this, obviously as an open, I think he'll skip the Olympia.
I think so too. I mean, I would.
That's smart. And I think he'll just focus on this show for the next 3 years, try and win it 3 times, and then he'll call it a day.
Yeah. I mean, he's got plenty of. He's a busy guy. He's got other stuff to do. He doesn't have to compete all the time.
He's got two very, very, very big projects coming off soon. So I think I wouldn't be surprised, if he wins this and actually then calls it a day.
Wow.
Because I said I can't talk about the two massive projects he's got coming off over in Florida, but I would imagine if he'd do a Lee Haney and go out on top.
Yeah. Unless, he really has it in his head that I want 3 of these Masters titles, in which case he's going to have to.
Yeah, but Kamal changes his mind all the time. I went to see him at the end of 2019 at his house down in Northampton when he won the 212 Olympia in 2019, November 2019. And he said, yeah, I've just spoke to my wife. He said, I'm going for another 5 years. I'm going to 2024, and then I'm shutting it down.
Oh, well, there you go. So he's going to have to do 1 more year then, because that's what he said.
He'll probably change his mind again.
All right, before we move on, I want to say Patty Clahar, best wife in bodybuilding. We're rooting for, we love Phil, the Jamaica Tank. We're rooting for him. And let's move on to Max Charles. Max Charles, as soon as this contest was announced, he was one of the guys I thought, well, that's who he should probably do it. He's old enough. I think they had made it 40. The age, the minimum age changed apparently as when they first came out. I think you had to be, did you have to be 50, 45? Yeah. And then they bumped it down to 40 so they could include more people. But
the reason. Sorry, just to interrupt. The reason why is when I was at the Romania Muscle Fest last year at the after party, I was with Jake, and I said to Jake, and he basically asked me and a couple of other people's opinion of what the age limit should be. He says because he said, what did he say? He said he wanted it to be 45. He was the one who wanted it as 45 in most of the categories, but apparently Alina said she wanted 40 across the board because she said she wanted the best quality competitors.
Well, you should have the same age group for everybody. It shouldn't be 45 for some divisions and 40 for others anyway. It should be uniform. So that was a good idea. Good job, Alina. Yeah. So Max, he's, God, I've seen this guy compete probably 30, 40 times over the years, Max. Very consistent, tremendous upper body, shoulders, arms, chest, back. Legs are very good. I always wanted more legs, like, I want from more people, but I think Max is definitely still at the top of his game. I haven't seen his physique start to downslide. I haven't seen him lose any fullness or body parts, or I don't see any tears. I see him as a definite first call-out guy in this. Could he be pushing for the win, though?
Well, he's got a secret weapon.
Milos?
Yeah.
He's back with Milos. Uh-oh.
Back with Milos. So as soon as, because I had him on, we were talking about his sex honey.
What?
Did you see that?
Talking about what?
He's got his own product. It's like this aphrodisiac honey he's brought out, this raw honey or something with all these products added. And it's good for your sex drive. So we were talking. So anyway, me and Derek were obviously in the studio. And when he said that about Milos, I went, oh my God, I started freaking out because obviously I was so excited because obviously when they worked together at 2020 and they, and he looked, I know he was at 8th Olympia, but he was one of the standouts of that Arnold Classic. Sorry, sure. 8th in the Arnold Classic, not the Olympia. 8th in the Arnold Classic in 2020, the last Arnold Classic I went to. Yeah. I mean, he didn't. You remember? I remember digging you in the elbows, going, "Holy shit!" When he walked out, his chest, abs. I mean, he's never looked like that since.
I know.
That was because he worked with Milos, and I said to him, "Look, like I said, can I ask something?" I said, after what you achieved, that look you achieved, I said, okay, the placing you weren't happy with, but the look you brought to that show, why the hell did you stop working with Milos in the first place? You're mental. I said, you're crazy.
What did he say?
And he just went, well, I could tell I was a bit of a, and then he says, well, the main thing is we're working together now. And I was like, oh, well, fantastic. I said, that's so great. I said, I'm just happy that you two are working together. I said, because you two, and I just hope that Milos is as hands-on as he was in 2020. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously now Milos's profile has raised a lot and he's got, Regan, he's got Samson, and he's doing all going to the UFC and he's very, very busy doing lots of podcasts. I just hope that he's as focused on Max as he was in 2020, because, if he can bring him in anything like that, then, there's a guy that, potentially especially if Phil or Kamal don't bring their best, there's a guy that could sneak right past them.
Yeah, I'm a little mad at Milos right now. You know why?
Why? Oh, but don't worry, I'll fall out with him all the time.
He was in Boston. I'm in Boston. He was in Boston last weekend. I never heard a peep from him. It was for UFC stuff. He was with Dana White. Yeah, he's very close with Dana White now, the owner of the UFC. But
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I had stuff going on anyway, but still, come on, Milos, hit me up next time you're in Boston. What the hell? I mean, I didn't know. I didn't. last time he'd been here was for the Boston Pro, and I haven't
Okay.
seen him since.
I love Milos. He's just, I
Of
mean,
course, we love Milos.
he's my secret weapon when I need a good global. Do you know what I mean? If I've got like a couple of like sort of guests I know that might not pull views, I think, okay, well, I'll throw Milos in there and he'll just boost it up. Do you know what I mean? And he's just always. And the thing is, like he would probably go for 2 hours easy.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
he got offended once when I said can we do about 40 minutes? And he says no. He says I want to go. He said we either do an hour or not at all.
wow. As busy as he must not sleep very much because he's got all these clients all around the world, different time zones. He's on every podcast. He's a podcast. He calls himself a podcast whore, but he never says, I appreciate the hell out of him. Whenever I want to talk to him or something, he's like, let's do it. We'll do it in like in an hour. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, he's very accommodating.
He messages me sometimes in the morning at about 8 or 9 in the morning. So it's probably like, well, it's like 6-8 hours back. So he's probably like 1-2 in the morning. I think that's when he does most of his messages. Wow. It's like Chad Nichols. He said the best time to catch me is 3 or 4 a.m. Because that's when it's quiet. That's when it's, like Ronnie. Ronnie's like that. When he used to go write his book, he used to write his books through the night in the local IHOP. Wow. He said it's the only time when you got kids and stuff. It's the only time you can get some peace and quiet and you can get some focus, because otherwise the phone's going, the kids are everywhere, the house is busy, so I kind of get it.
It's the witching hour. You're not supposed to be awake. The next guy I want to talk about, we have not seen this guy in a few years. I honestly didn't think we'd ever see him again. It was Josh Lenartowicz from Australia. Very good. He was winning open shows. I think he was third. I want to say he was third at the Arnold Classic one year, a few years back. He looked amazing. But then he got some sort of growth on his head. Well, I think it was cancerous, but they got it out. I think, wasn't it? I remember because it was a tumor. He had horrible headaches and everything. And we haven't heard much from him. I didn't know if he was training again. And then I started seeing updates and he was he had lost only a little bit of size, but he's back. If he looks anything like he did, this is like 2016 to 2018. I think that's when he was doing very, very well.
Remember Tampa 2017 when he won that?
I remember because he was at the pool party the next day, and he had eaten all the food. He was so bursting full and veiny. It was insane.
That was when I started back with MD. That was and that was a close one between him and Max Charles, mind, and that was a bloody good show. That one.
Oh, yeah, you were there in Tampa that year, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there because you said because you messaged me and you said, Charles, I'm not getting in till Saturday, but on the Friday, can you go and work with John and get some interviews for MD? And I was like, well, I've kind of got my press pass for Flex magazine here. But...
Oh, geez, my bad.
And I was like, oh, go on then, fuck it, So.
Wow, okay, yeah, but you didn't go to the pool party. I remember that. But yeah, Josh, have you seen updates? You know how he's looking?
I honestly don't think he's competing.
He's on the list.
Honestly, I've looked at his Instagram this morning because I texted him, I WhatsApped him, and he didn't answer me back. He didn't answer me back. He didn't even read the message. I could see he'd been online. Yeah. He's put nothing on Instagram. Either that's because he's gone quiet and he just wants to basically do a Dorian Yates and kind of shock everyone.
No Instagram story. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing it, mate. And I don't know why, because surely he should have let them know, because if there's 15 invites per division, then surely if you 10 weeks out decide because you're not going to do it, then let somebody else have that opportunity that might be able to jump on a prep or is prepping for something else that could or maybe they could reach out to some of the other people that also applied. I got a feeling he's not going to do it, mate. Honestly, I hope I'm wrong.
His last post was October of 2019 on Instagram. So
there you go. So what does that mean? Has he got a new Instagram? I don't think so.
No, that's official to me.
What is he? The biggest name in Australia? Are you sure that Tony Doherty or anyone over there would not have done a video, an update? All I know is his name is on the list, and that's the only thing that I've heard from him in the last 3 years.
Wow. Well, let's move on to someone I'm pretty sure is doing the show. Fred Biggie Smalls, one of the greatest posers in the sport. Very entertaining guy to watch. He's won Best Poser Award many times. Yeah, very full, thick upper body, everything, round, bubbly muscles. He just did a couple open shows. I'm not sure how old he is. He must be about 45 at this point, I'm guessing. But Fred's still looking very good. He didn't place that well. He was up against some really stiff competition. But I think he's got a good chance of of getting a nice top 5 here for sure.
Yeah, he looks good. I mean, I know he's got the rip pec. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm quite harsh on rip pecs. Like like hunters and people, most people don't even notice it, and I find that really strange. But the rest of him looks pretty good. Because
Yeah.
was it Tampa he did?
Yeah, I think he's done a couple shows.
He
It's
did.
yeah.
He did all the masters classes. He did like
Oh,
loads of
that's right.
different classes.
He won one of the Masters divisions at the Tampa Pro,
Yeah.
and then he was like, I think he was like 8th or something in the Open. But he still looks, aside from the pec tear, again, still has the fullness to the muscles, still gets into condition, because that's what we saw. That's the one thing that I didn't like about the old Masters Olympia. Maybe that's why they included more of the current competitors, was you would see guys from the past who would make comebacks after like 20 years, and they'd lost a lot of size, they had muscle tears, loose skin. So I could see why it's really a good thing to have people who are still fresh looking, even though they might not be as accomplished as someone who's been top 5 at the Olympia in their past career. But yes,
You're 50, what, 52?
I'll be 54 in less than a month.
Your skin looks really good. Do you have any loose skin or anything? Is it just because you've stayed in shape for all these years?
Skin, I don't have any loose skin. I have torn muscles and stuff, but no, I don't have any
Yeah, but that's just
receding hairline. But yeah.
I'm 47. I've got no loose skin or whatsoever either because I've always stayed lean.
I think loose skin is when you were like typically if you were overweight for a while and then you lose it, you're gonna have loose skin. I mean, I was chubby, but I never got fat.
I think it's to do with things like sun exposure and also hydration as well.
Yeah, I drink a lot of water, but I have got a lot of sun. Way too much sun. Absolutely.
Oh, well, I'm the complete opposite. I've actually had 0 in about 5 years.
It's like leather. My skin feels like leather, but oh well.
Yeah.
So
if you noticed, I always used the picture of when I went to Cyprus in 2017, then came out to the Olympia, and I was so tanned. I looked so different. I looked so much healthier.
Remember, that's the only time I think I've ever seen you with any kind of tan.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I mean, that's obtaining the tanning injections.
Well, you used to go to Cyprus every year for vacation when your dad was alive and living there, and you'd come back tan every time. I remember.
Yeah.
So
and then literally jumped on a plane and came straight to Vegas.
So the best mustache in this show is probably going to go to Arizona's Rusty Jeffers. Rusty's been around a very long time. Was never like a top pro or anything, but tremendously popular, huge following, nice guy. I've met him a few times. And again, that epic mustache. He's competed a few times the past few years, still gets in a great condition. Peak body, he's got some good body parts. I don't see him pushing for the win here, but I think he's going to make a very respectable showing, Rusty.
Didn't he make top 10 at one of the Pro Ironmans about 20 years ago?
Yeah, I believe he did.
Yeah. And he's a good poser. And like I say, because I've been watching him, I've been sort of watching him competing over the last couple of years in these different events and stuff like that. And I mean, what is he, in his 60s now?
He's probably about 60. Yeah, I don't think he's that old. Yeah, he looks great. And again, he's got that big walrus handlebar mustache. It's enormous. You think it's like a joke, but he's not kidding. That's a real mustache.
Yeah, he's cool, man. I like him. And the thing is, I think the guys that probably are when they get older, it's the ones that didn't stop competing. It's not the ones that, at 6 months or a year before look like a normal guy and then just decide to do like a Kevin Navrone and then it kind of doesn't look right, which we've all seen before. It's the ones that always carried on training and didn't stop. And also because he didn't just carry on training, he just carried on competing.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I don't think he went more than a year or two without competing ever.
I mean, I just, what, these guys are the essence of shows like this, because that when they heard the announcement the Masters Olympia was coming back, and then remember probably the day when he got the invite. I mean, can you imagine what that meant to someone like that has lived and breathed bodybuilding and training and the iron probably since he was a teenager? I love it, right? I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and there's people we're not talking about that are competing that I think it was probably even more dramatic for them and more like a life-changing when they got that acceptance to the Olympia, because Rusty's been on pro stages, he's placed in pro shows, but some of these people competing, they've never had that experience, and to have this, it's a wonderful thing for him. Last guy I want to talk about in Open.
He'll be a crowd favorite, I guarantee it.
Everyone loves Rusty. So this is a guy I haven't heard the name in years, a few years anyway. Originally from Lithuania, now in Las Vegas, like so many other people. Robert Bernica. Remember Robert? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when I saw his name on the list, I'm like, huh, Robert Bernica. Wow.
Yeah.
I just remember these massive arms, like 23-inch arms, shoulders, chest. And he was trying to do MMA fighting for a little while. I remember one clip, it was kind of embarrassing because he's tremendously slow, as you know, anybody that size would be. But the other guy was sort of just like trying to chase him around the ring. But Robert, I'm curious to see. I did see an update. He looks pretty close to the way he used to. He's probably, yeah, I mean, he's been gone for a good, I'd say about 10 years now, close
Yeah.
to it. Yeah. So let's see how he looks. Let's move on to 212 because my
Sorry, I
pick,
remember.
yeah,
Sorry, Ron. I remember when he did. Was it top 5 at the New York Pro?
well, yeah, I believe that's right. That was,
He
oof.
looked good. No, he looked good. He looked good. And then what I heard, because I remember Emilio telling me that because he became like this huge YouTube star in Poland and this huge like online celebrity in, and then he started to do organize shows for the NPC and Pro League.
Wow, okay.
He was a promoter, but apparently he's a real character. I was told some stories I probably can't repeat, but
Oh, geez.
he is a real he's a real personality. This guy actually, it's yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he looks. You know, so it's good to see him come back, mate. Good on him.
So my pick for the 212 Olympia champion is the very first. Back then, it was just called the 202 Showdown. It's now called 212 Olympia. David Henry, originally from Arizona, now in Massachusetts, the great state of Massachusetts. David still, he's still been doing open shows. Obviously, you saw him in Ireland. Did he take second at that show
Yes, yeah.
to Rob Taylor? Was it
When I
Rob
was
Taylor?
doing the test judging,
Yeah.
I put him first.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, like I said, he's another one. I don't see his physique declining at all. He still has that pop to it. He always had this crazy thick chest, shoulders, back. Always in great condition. I mean, that I was at Legion Sports a couple of years back when he won that,
Mm.
and to me, he looked every bit as good as when he was winning Arnold Classics and Olympia titles. And yeah, I don't see anyone else on that list that I think is, you know, no offense, guys, but David Henry's going to be very, very tough to beat here.
Do you know why I hope he's going to bloody win this? Because I think he's had some really shitty placings in the last few years.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I think I've got 2019 Olympia when I was there with you for MD, and he got 11th, and I couldn't believe it because I remember when the top 10 came out, I said to you, I said, where the hell's Dave Henry?
Did he pass out or something? Why isn't he here?
I would have had him. I wouldn't have had him winning, but I would have had him like sort of six. I'm sure my memory's telling me I had him around 5th to 8th.
Yeah, I remember we were like, what the, huh? 11th?
11th. I mean, I just didn't get it. And then I saw him, obviously in the flesh in Ireland. And I mean, the guy's a freak. He's like the 212 Phil Heath,
Yeah. So, I mean, good.
I just hope he really, really, really nails it. I hope he wins, and I hope and there's another guy who'll have two Olympia titles then.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Hey, I feel we haven't heard a whole lot from him in the past few years, but he was one of the founding fathers of what's now the 212 division. He won the Olympia title a couple times, 3 times, I want to say. Did he win the Arnold Classic 212 as well? I'm not sure.
I do believe he did. He also gave me one of my weirdest ever interviews at the Arnold Classic one year.
Weirdest ever?
Yeah, it was really uncomfortable, actually. It was probably in my top 5 most uncomfortable. Okay, I just want to get away from this guy right now.
He's a very intense guy, very intense guy. So yeah, if you're not really prepared for that, it can be a little overwhelming.
It was like 2011, and I was literally going round by myself with my recorder and my microphone, and I asked his wife just to sort of frame us up and everything like that, and I asked him something about his training when he's on military duty. He really got defensive. He got really defensive. He goes, "No, I can't tell you about that." I was like, "All right, mate, you could have told me a little bit more diplomatically like that." But he really shut me down. But I spoke to him anyway. I spoke to him in Ireland, and we was cool and everything. But
yeah, I think I did. He was in MD. He had an MD column for a couple of years, and I worked on it with him. And the whole issue with that is he was in the U.S. Air Force, and I don't think they were very accommodating to him with his bodybuilding career. In fact, he had to miss a year or maybe 2 seasons. I don't know, because he was on deployment and he just couldn't get back to compete. So in fact, he never even wanted Air Force specified as the branch of the military that he was in. because he was, he didn't owe them anything. He didn't want to give them that recognition because they did sort of thwart his plans as a pro bodybuilder more than once. So I get that.
Ron, I bet he's got some cool UFO stories.
He might have seen. Yeah, he might know where they're keeping the alien bodies.
I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna give him the Chinese burn on his arm.
If I ever get him alone, I'm gonna be like, damn, come here. You can tell me. I won't tell anybody.
Yeah,
I'll tell everybody.
Record it.
So the next guy that's a big name, a big favorite on this list, Hide Tada, who is a 212 Arnold Classic champion. He was an excellent 212 guy. He was an excellent open bodybuilder. Did very well as an open. Again, like Kamal, not that much heavier, like probably 220.
He made top 10 at the Olympia, made 8th place at the Olympia.
Yeah. The only thing that concerns me, have you been looking at any of his updates lately, though?
Yeah.
I'm not too confident about the way he's looking right now. And
I'm not either.
I like you, Hide knows I love him. I respect hell out of him. I've trained with him, but yeah, this is not the look I wanted to see Hide bring to the Masters Olympia. Smaller, legs are downsized. I'm not seeing the condition that I would like to see right now. So yeah, I'm concerned for Hide, and I hope he can pull a miracle, because what I was looking at was like 6 days out.
Yeah,
I don't think you can change that dramatically in 6 days, but who knows? Let's see what happens.
I mean, I remember when I saw him at the 2012 Dallas, when I flew out for that, and that was the year that Sean Roden did his level up. Because in 2011, Sean Roden came 11th at Olympia, and then that was the year he jumped up to 3rd. And Sean Roden came out, looked absolutely sensational. And then it was Hide was 2nd, Tony Freeman was 3rd, and I was Rowley was there. Rowley was there and got 4th.
Wow.
And then, sorry, just a little side story here. And then I ran backstage to say hi to Rowley, and Sybil was there. And she went, no, stop. And he was in tears. He was crying.
What?
Crying because he got 4th, because he needed to qualify. He really wanted to win and qualify.
Wow.
And I think, so Hide, Sean Roden, and Tony Freeman were the top 3. So,
I don't know how you can remember the memory on you is amazing.
Hang on. What was I doing out there? Oh, I know. I was out there for the gasp thing, wasn't I?
Yeah, I guess. But Jesus,
yeah, me and Crystal, my friend Crystal.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me how you can remember 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th from a contest that was like 20 years ago. Yeah, I'll be like 1998 British Grand Prix. You'd be like, boop, 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 boop. Here was a top 10. You can rattle it right off. Something like that.
Do you know what, though? Ron, that was a trick question. Do you know why?
No.
There was no 1998 British Grand Prix. That was the one year they didn't do it.
97 was the one that we always talk about?
97. Kevin Navarone, Chris Cormier was 2nd.
Ronnie? Wasn't Ronnie in it?
5th. NASA was 4th. I forget who was 3rd. Was it Charles Clement or Dillette? I think Dillette was 3rd. Ronnie was 5th, and then Lee Priest was 6th.
Jeez, what a show. Whew.
Actually got a picture of it on my wall, literally over my shoulder there, with Kevin Navarone trying to take John Citrone's $60,000 gold Rolex off his arm.
Sorry, he's got like 10 more at home, doesn't he, John? But
he had one nicked, actually. He had one nicked off. That one he had nicked off his arm in Milan. It got some kid unclasped it and jumped onto a moped and sped off.
Wow.
And I think John came back and he just laughed about it.
Yeah, God, I would have been screaming. Jeez. Last guy I want to talk about in 212, mainly because he's originally from Massachusetts and he's got big legs, is Derek Farnsworth. Derek is known. He's actually been more known as this deep tissue massage therapy. He's like one of the best in the world. He lives in San Diego, California, and bodybuilders literally fly from all over the world to get worked on by Derek. Can you imagine you're in UK or Italy and you're flying to San Diego, California to get a massage? But that's how good he is. But he's also a very, very good bodybuilder. Condition, everything still looks good on this guy. He's actually gotten better because I think he was natural for the majority of his career. Maybe he still is. I have no idea. I'm not speculating, but I'm just saying he looks really, really good. And especially the fact that I didn't see a lot of big names in here. I think it's going to come down to him and David, unless there's some names on there that, as always, guys, there are people we don't talk about that I'm not familiar with. And sometimes those people blow me away once I'm watching the pay-per-view or I'm at the show. I'm like, geez, Classic is where that happens most of all, I would say.
Every bloody show.
It's like this last one, Tampa. No, I'm sorry, Texas that we just saw. Never heard of it.
I don't think there's anyone on the planet that can actually keep up. I know that Bodybuilders Without Borders, is it Dan, the guy that does that?
Yeah. Daniel.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good at keeping up with. I think he's probably the leading guy that actually keeps up with all the classics because he seems to know and be able to predict. I mean, I honestly, there's obviously someone I have to bow down to on this planet in terms of predicting and stuff like that. But that guy's absolutely incredible what he does because he knows all the best guys in classic. And I just think you must be spending all day, every day, just literally keeping up with all the shows and all the pro qualifiers of all the guys that are actually turning pro in classic, because that's what they are. Most of these guys in these classic shows are new guys.
And there's probably twice as many classic pros as there are open pros right now. There are definitely probably 3 times more classic pro shows than there are open shows because it's a money thing. It costs a lot more money to get a sanction fee for open bodybuilding than classic. So a lot of these shows, if you look at the schedule, the pro schedule, like every weekend, there's a classic pro show somewhere. Yeah. It might be tied into a big regional show. There'll be like pro bikini, pro men's physique, pro classic. And that's the only 3 divisions. Those are the only 3 divisions they'll have for pros.
Well, it happened at Hungary when I did that live stream commentary for the Fit Parade last year. Yeah. They had, what was it? Figure and Classic, I think, they had the amateur show. Then they had Figure and Classic as the pro shows. That was when Peter Molnar did Classic. And then he switched to 212 later on in the season. But yeah, he lost it. And I couldn't believe he lost it because I thought I had him winning it.
So I see Classic is coming down to a battle between 2 guys. But my favorite is Alex Cambronero, who is the 2020 Arnold Classic Physique champion. He slipped a little bit in the Olympia rankings, but he's been a top 5 Olympia guy many times. Like I said, Arnold Classic champ. And I've just seen the pictures, man. He is looking crazy right now. Crazy. So congratulations, Alex. I think you got this one.
Well, I think it'll take some sort of really, really good unknown to beat him because there's nobody on that list that I think will take him. But I like Alex. I've interviewed him a couple of times, actually. Yeah, I see him as the probably favorite. But I mean, he's still, hang on a minute, he's still like 6th, 7th at Olympia. He's not dropped out of the top 10 or anything.
No, he's still, what do we got? Last year he was 9th, but that's the lowest he's ever been. He's usually top 5, usually.
Yeah, but that last year's Olympia, mate, was like that was an Olympia for the ages that will go down as like you could have been, you know, like Terence Ruffin came in slightly off, and look how far he dropped.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, is it Neil Hill that he works with?
I'm not sure if they're still working together. I probably are actually. I had Animal Global. God, I can't remember now. A few months ago, last year or whatever. I would imagine he's still working with Neil. Yeah, they've done good things together, haven't they? And I think Neil really knows the body. Let's
see who he's in the picture with. Feo Company. His actual name is Feo, by the way. Yeah. Oh no, it's Alejandro.
Have you seen his sneaker collection?
Yes. Oh, okay. So when was this picture taken?
Crazy.
Oh, see, I'm not sure if there were. I think, yeah. They are working together. This was only posted a day ago. There's a great picture of Neil and him together. So, yeah, wishing him the best. Him and his wife Maggie, great people.
Yeah, I like him. I might get him on Global again actually soon. I spoke to him for a while. Like I always enjoy talking to him. And also, just quickly before you move on to somebody else, I would say my interview with Derek Farnsworth was probably one of my favorite, most unexpected, best interviews. The ones I personally enjoyed to do and learned so much of the year of season 5. I think Derek Farnsworth was one of them because I'd never really spoke to him much before. And he used to put comments on my Facebook and stuff. So I know he watched my work and everything. But sometimes they say that, and you quiz him a little bit, and they don't. But he's actually, I was messaging him 2 days ago. Actually, we had a really, he's messaging a lot. But I like Darren. I got a lot of time for him. Actually, a lot of time for him. I think he's a very, 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 very cool guy.
So I don't see this guy beating him necessarily, but Darren Charles is going to put up a hell of a fight. Darren's been a pro since the early '90s.
Yeah,
he used to win all the. We call them $10,000 shows. They're all $10,000 shows now, but he used to win, 3-4 shows a year consistently. He moved to Classic a few years back when Classic came about, and I think he won a couple of the early Classic Physique Pro shows. So he's got to be, if I'm going to be 54, he's got to be like 57, 58. But
Ron, he doesn't look it, does he? His physique doesn't look any different. I mean, there's a little bit of aging. Like, look, we all have a little bit of aging around the eyes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we don't look like 25 anymore.
I'm going to say this. it's not offensive because it's a nice thing. Black don't crack.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
Eddie Abu used to say to me.
yeah,
I
but
said, Eddie,
it's a different quality of skin. They don't get as wrinkly and especially from the sun. The sun, damn it, like sun is not our friend as pasty white people. But Darren, man, physique wise, I don't think he had to lose much to move to go down to classic. It
yeah,
was probably like a matter of 10 or 15 pounds, I'm guessing. He was never a heavy guy, but beautiful shape. He always had those peak biceps, details, cross-striated quads, triceps, tiny waist. I think he's going to give Alex a nice fight here.
he will. He'll look fantastic. Because I remember, he got second to Danny Hester at the 2016, the first ever Classic Olympia, didn't he?
Yeah, and he won that first season. I want to say he won 2 or 3
Yeah.
of the first pro classic physique shows that ever were ever held.
But again, there's a guy, because he's a professional personal trainer. He trains Dan Solomon.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's Dan's personal trainer, and he's a guy that clearly has never stopped training, always led a clean, healthy lifestyle. Because you can just tell by the way how great he looks at his age. And I won't hold it against him because I messaged him to come on Global. He didn't respond.
Come on, Darren.
Too busy. I think he's just too busy.
Yeah.
He's probably doing because I think he's he's a very successful, highly paid personal trainer. I think he's right up there with the Charles Glass level. Do you know what I mean? In terms of income and everything. I mean, have you seen the car in his house? And that's just purely from personal training. I mean, so he is really, really in demand. So, but he's obviously never left. He's never out of the gym. So he's always looked good. And I saw some updates. I saw some physique updates as he was coming into his prep. And he looked exactly the same. I mean, I couldn't see any atrophy or loose skin or anything. I just thought this guy is freaking ageless.
Wow. I just want to commend all the people who are competing, especially the bodybuilding divisions, like class, I call them bodybuilding. Those guys who have been doing this for 30, 40 years and they're not all torn up and their bodies haven't been destroyed. Amazing, because most guys, by the time, if they've been competing since they were young, by the time they're in their 50s, their bodies are just trashed. Everything's just ruined and muscles are torn and it's terrible.
I consider myself very lucky because I've been training since I was 13. I'm 47 now, and I've had remember Jose asked us on I think when he came on Power Hour, and he said, Giles, have you got any aches or niggles or anything? And I said, well, no, I've got no pains. I've had a few breaks every a few weeks here and there, so I think maybe that's done me good as well. And I've started doing cardio a few years ago, but I think so I think because like I said, like you've got a torn tricep and torn.
Oh, I've torn. I need a new shoulder. My back killing. We could do a whole show talking about all my pains.
We're stuck for a topic. We can talk about your injuries.
Yeah, I'm one of the guys who's just my body's just trashed. It's just wrecked.
But Ron, I watch your videos. You've never changed your style of training.
Yeah, much to my own detriment, probably. There were no light days.
I think maybe you got to switch it up a little bit, mate. Start doing some more Milos style training, giant sets, and also because you don't do cardio, do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do.
I got the dog walking branch.
No, I do that twice a day. I walk in, but I do cardio. I do 20, 30 minutes typically at the end of every weight training session too.
Oh, do you? Okay, yeah, I stand corrected.
For the old ticker, you know how important that is. More so than and plus I like to eat a little junk here and there, so that helps. Yeah. But that covers most of the divisions. I want to just make quick note of figure. We have second in the figure Olympia, Jessica Reyes Padilla, who just won Texas Pro, top of her game, still killing it. It's hard to believe she's over 40, but I'd be very, very shocked if she does not become the first Masters figure Olympia champion Saturday.
I mean, I looked at the pictures and videos from Texas, and I think that's the best Jessica we've ever seen. I mean, and what is she like now? I don't want to say
she's over 40, obviously. Whatever she is, she's over 40. So
I'm sure she's probably knocking on 43, maybe even 44. I'm not sure. I don't want to misquote her age.
That's probably right.
But you cannot tell. There is absolutely zero, because sometimes you get you can tell there's little areas. Usually they're on their lower quad, there's like a little wrinkle of skin.
Yeah.
It's just the first area to go, like our guys where the triceps start to go up the arm, Yeah. She's got none of that. I mean, but like I said, she's someone that hasn't stopped training, competing. She probably stays lean all year round. She probably eats a very, very good diet, supplements well, and looks after herself. And maybe there's something. Where is she from? Puerto Rico or?
Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe they've got that sort of that lucky skin going on. So I love Jessica though. I love her. It was nice when we saw her at the after party at the Olympia, and she came over with Natalia and got to give him a big hug and a big kiss and everything. It was lovely. It was really nice to see her. Actually, I like Jessica. She was I think she was one of my first female guests ever on Global back in season 1.
Wow. Before we go, I want to remind everybody, back up on this channel, if you haven't watched Global Muscle, he had Andrew Jacked winning interview on there. We already had the clip. He provided us a short clip, but the full interview with Andrew's there, and Carlos Thomas Jr. talking about his pro debut. Great episode. Definitely check that out. MD Global Muscle.
You know what, Ron? I think that's my 186th episode overall. Only 14 away from 200. And I think sometimes, when you just take the headphones off after every interview, because I did it over 2 separate days because I couldn't get Andrew the first day. So I had to get Lauren to come back from work early we got it all set up, because it takes about 40 minutes to set the studio up, because it's in my house, and as soon as I took the headphones off, I went, because I'd already done Hot News, I'd already done Carlos, and I was like, oh my God. I said, please tell me that recorded. She went, yep, it's all good. And I went, play it back. I said, check it through. And I said, that's probably one of the best episodes of season 5 that we've got. Because Andrew, I've interviewed Andrew once with Ronnie Coleman, and also I had him on once another time as well. Really, really good guy. But I must have just called him at a really good time, because he was just, when they've got so much to say. That's my instinct say, okay, hang back more, because I just listened more and talked less. And he actually it went on for 30 minutes, and he was absolutely fantastic. And I actually stopped the interview because I said, no, I said 20 minutes. I'm mindful of your time because I don't want to push it, But absolutely fantastic. And you've seen the views on that bloody mini clip. I mean, it's so that's only 8 minutes of the 30 minutes in Global. So please, guys, please go and watch it. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, this is actually, as we're speaking, it's going to we're doing this on Wednesday, so we got 15 minutes till the premiere drops. So I'm gonna continue quick. Last person I want to mention, just because she just won the Texas Pro Women's Physique in a very tough, stacked. I don't like to use that word often, but it was a stacked Women's Physique division. Ivy Rain, originally from Brazil, looks fantastic. I'd be very surprised if she doesn't win the Women's Physique Olympia title, Masters Olympia title.
She'll win that.
And people want to know when these things are happening. It's a 2-day event, includes Romania, Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to give you the Eastern Standard Times, which would be 5 a.m. Wow, 5 a.m. for women's physique judging, women's bodybuilding class physique, wellness, and 212. That's going to be noon in Romania. And then 9 a.m. here and 4 p.m. Romania. They're going to do the finals for that. Everyone's going to know when's Mr. Olymp, when's the Open. That's Sunday, guys. Same schedule, noon and 4 Romania time. It's going to be fitness, figure, men's physique, bikini, and finishing up with Open Masters Mr. Olympia. So there is a pay-per-view. We'll put the link in the description so you guys can check that out. And you're going to wake up. Well, you're not going to. It's not going to be early for you. You're going to be doing some coverage of the judging on both days. I'll do the finals because I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. I love you guys, but no, I'm not doing that. So yeah, that's it, man. That's our preview, guys. And again, Global Muscle, Andrew Jack, Carlos Thomas Jr. Check that out on this channel. It's about to drop right here, so I want to watch it. So we're gonna let you go, Giles. Any final words?
Also, on a personal one, I had my first ever cardiologist appointment last week.
How'd that go?
15, very good. They're very happy. Everything, very happy. So, and they're gonna.
Did they hook you up and do the ultrasound?
No, I got to go back in 2-3 weeks and get the an echogram. And he said if that all goes well, he says he's going to start bringing me off some of my medications as well, because the one makes me very lightheaded when I stand up. So
I'm going to give you a tip. You can use the same joke I use every time. I think it's an ultrasound. You know when you can see it, they put the paddle on there with the gel, and you can see the heart beating and everything.
Yeah.
So that's when you turn to the technician, and say, "Is it a boy or a girl?" They love that. They don't love that. They're like,
that's my kind of joke. That's my kind of joke.
I thought I was the first. The guy said no. You know how many times people have said that to me? I said, sorry. It's the best joke I got. Anyway, yeah.
It's like when I say when I talk about my big juicy vein when they want to take blood. And I say not the first woman to ask me that.
Ooh, that's an inappropriate joke for we can't tell those jokes anymore. But that's it. So guys, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, leave some comments here on some of the competitors. I know we probably didn't talk about some people that you want us to. So if you want to have some names of people that you want everyone to look out for, drop them there. Any commentary. We love your feedback, guys. And we do respond. Mr. Giles MD on YouTube is always responding well. Even to, sometimes they're not the most positive comments, but he responds anyway. You're a sport like that. I love that. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching MD Power Hours preview of the Masters Olympia taking place in Cluj, Romania this weekend. Be sure to follow us Saturday and Sunday for our live coverage of the judging and the finals. And that'll do it. Thank you, Giles Tiger Thomas. And thanks out there in TV land or YouTube land for watching us. We'll see you next time. Boop. Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.